Hey, film school admissions decisions is tearing me apart. What's up? It's a culture detective here investigating your favorite albums. And today I'm going to be doing an album review, the second review of the day, and that would be the new HMLTD album, The Worm. So HMLTD is a British dance punk, post-punk glam rock outfit, and this is their second album, The Worm. A little bit back in, I believe, 2018, they released their first EP, Hate Music, Listen Time Delete. I think Hate Music Like Time Delete. And that's a fantastic EP. It has so many great songs. Proxy Love is a total banger, and my favorite is Mannequin, where the song is basically a love song written for a mannequin, and it's so much fun, so absurd, so wacky, quirky, so catchy at the same time. And then we have the release of their debut album, West of Eden, which I absolutely freaking loved. This is one of the most vibrant, energetic, interesting albums that has released that year. And the band essentially explores all types of sounds. We have glam rock, we have harsher post punk, we have synth pop, we have darker, groovier sounds, we have spoken word at some points here and there. But West of Eden is such a colorful collage of sounds and concepts and lyrics, and the performance by the frontman Henry Spichalski is absolutely stunning. So now we have a second album from HMLTD, and this time they're going for another style. Hilariously enough, they're going for a concept album, a bit of a rock opera. Essentially, The Worm is about the worm. This is medieval England, specifically London, and there is a pink worm that sort of tears the entire city apart and kills most of the population. And this is essentially a story about our main character Henry killing the worm and saving the world. And the worm is actually a metaphor for capitalist realism and also one's inner demons. So it's really interesting. The album opens off with Worm's Dream, which is a haunting 1 minute a cappella choir intro that introduces us to this world after the worm has swallowed through London, and it's called After Swallowing, like AS. So now we enter 0 AS, like the first year since the worm has swallowed London. And then following that, we have the first core track, Wormlands, with the dirty, distorted guitars, anxiety-inducing pianos, and drums. Henry Spichalski sings in a muffled, high-pass tone on top of some jazzy, messy instrumentals. It's not the catchiest song ever, but as a theatrical opening, it really works out, and it's also really interesting. And I love that there's a whole lore behind it, like the swallowing and then the worm winter. I don't know if somebody made it up or if it's like canon to this lore, but there's a worm winter that killed 85% of the population or something, and worms are growing inside of everyone as well, like inside their bodies. So the worm is invading people now. And then following that, we have The End Is Now, which is a hyper surrealist rock opera track with fierce female vocals that are sort of glitching. Apparently, that is a sample, but once again, the track sounds really interesting, really vibrant and energetic, and lyrically, it's also really interesting because it deals with divertebrates, which are apparently these upper class people who sell their spines to God or something so that they would be accepted into the world of worms. And these are the people who have essentially become slaves to capitalism. Now, following that, we have the ballad that is Days, and it is a tear-jerking piano ballad with some amazingly sad vocal performances from Henry, the frontman. But unfortunately, I don't think slow burns are a strong suit to this band. It's a little bland instrumentally. But following that, we have Saddest Worm Ever, which I think is one of the highlights of the album, with the cycling speedy drums, emotional strings and guitars, more muffled singing, pitched vocals. This track has so many layers and so many sides to it. It's a lot of fun. And lyrically, it is about capitalism. It is about people exploiting weaker, less powerful people, and also the rise of the grunter rebels, which are the rebel organization that is planning to rise up against the worm and overthrow the worm. Following that, we have Liverpool Street, which is a real soliloquy moment where Henry Spichalski essentially struggles with himself, and we are revealed a gigantic plot twist that I'm going to try my best to not spoil you, but it shows the origins of the worm, where the worm is made, how did it all begin in the first place. And it's really interesting, and I feel like I'm watching a movie where I'm finally going into the final act of the film, and it's just it's been a while since I've encountered a concept album this well made and this interesting. We have the title track, which is an extremely heroic back from the dead type track, where the people essentially rise up against the worm with the very epic choir vocals, and the frontman Henry essentially decides to rise up against the worm as well, which is a really emotional climactic moment on the album. Following that, we have Past Life Cinnamon's Song, which is a 7-minute multifaceted song where we really get into the psychological aspect from the fighting back against the worm with the exhilarating jazzy hi-hats, energetic lively pianos, and beautiful organ keyboards. Finally, the album ends off with Lay Me Down, which is a violin-backed final ballad. And once again, this band is not great at writing ballads, but the track does get sonically way better and way more grooving and driving in the middle parts of this track with the marching drums and swaying guitars. But ultimately, this track sees our main character dying, I believe. I speculate that he has defeated the worm, but now he's dying because he sacrificed his body for the worm. And it's sort of like a bittersweet ending to the album, maybe. But it's also really interesting and it's also really inspiring. The band HMLTD still continues to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to whatever insanity they pull next. One thing though is, even though I really love the concept, I still have to admit that some tracks on the album do fall short. They're just not as catchy, not as interesting, not as memorable or as sticky or as well arranged and composed as most of the tracks off of West of Eden. But still, I think this is a very interesting album and definitely one of the most interesting ones of the year so far. I'm giving the new HMLTD album, The Worm, a light 8 out of 10. So have you listened to the new album from HMLTD? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching.